I'm Grace Torrey, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl, Grace Torrey, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. Today's podcast episode is going to be filled with spoilers, so I'm telling you right now, if you don't want the Barbie movie to be spoiled for you and you haven't seen it yet, you want to see it be fully surprised, which I highly recommend, that's what I did, then this may not be the episode for you. Go watch the movie and then come back and you can hear my thoughts on it, my little rant, and we can chat about it after. I'll still be here, I promise I'll be waiting. You got this. Okay, so obviously you saw by the title, we are going to be talking about the Barbie movie, all of the hidden meanings. I honestly didn't make an outline for this episode. We're just going to be kind of ranting about it, going on a little tangent. But before I do, obviously I have to do a little life update. As you can tell by the video, if you're watching this, obviously I'm a little snug right now. It's been like really hard day emotionally. A lot of stuff has happened that I can't talk about quite yet. I cannot wait to tell you about it once I can. A lot of stuff has happened today, good and bad, and it's been a lot on me. So I'm in my comfy little sweatshirt, cuddled up in a little ball on my podcasting couch, love seat, whatever you want to call it, with my little blanket, and we're just gonna chat things out. That's part of the reason why I didn't make an outline. We're just kind of going for it. I was supposed to film this literally 5 hours ago, but I took a nap, and then I ended up calling my best friend, having a really good chat with her that I definitely needed, so I feel a little bit more motivated. So yeah, that's where we're at now. But let's go ahead and talk about the Barbie movie. It was literally left me speechless. I didn't know what to expect because no one told me what exactly it was about. Everyone just told me it was really, really good. Some people said they cried when they saw it. Some people said they felt heard, but no one really told me why. And we're going to talk about why. Before I jump into it, I was kind of expecting it to be more of like a cater to all audiences type situation, but I think that it is definitely targeted towards an older audience, like young 20s, like my age, like 24. However, if you are younger, I think that it definitely is still entertaining. It has the same kind of jokes as like Disney, where the young kid is gonna think it's funny, whereas the adult, it's gonna be like a layered joke where the adult thinks it's funny for a different reason, but they still laugh. Oh. So yeah, I think that it's definitely appeals to multiple ages, so that was good. But let's talk about all of the things that were highlighted in it. It was political, but not in the sense that it was left versus right type situation. If you are not from the US, I'm talking about like conservative versus Democrat, or conservative versus liberal, or Republican versus Democrat. It wasn't anything like that where it was one side versus the other. Do you guys hear those crickets in the background? So sorry. They're just chirping away. Welcome to summer nights in Kentucky. Anyway, it wasn't like one side versus another. It was more of like political in the sense of equal rights, specifically for women and men. Words are hard. But it also went deeper than that. It just talked about the imbalance between women and men, and what women have to go through just to be heard. Not only be heard, but kind of be accepted in society and not be seen as like crazy. So this was really, honestly, a very layered movie. It started out very Barbie-esque. So if you are not familiar, there's Barbie Land and then there's the real world, and the whole parallel is that in Barbie Land everything is run by women and the men are inferior, whereas as we know in the real world, it's no secret, no matter who you are, we can all agree that women are inferior to men in the sense of laws cater towards men are seen as more higher valued, all of those things. There are so many imbalances between the two biological genders, I guess. I'm trying to think of the best way to word that. the two biological sexes, whatever. So this movie really calls that out and talks about how in Barbie Land, how, you know, not only do the Kens have to kind of vie for women's attention, but women are the president, they're the Nobel Peace Prize winners, they are businesswomen, they are construction workers, they are, no, I said Nobel Peace Prize, right? They're doctors, literally anything you can think of. Whereas in the real world, it's the opposite. And it even goes as far to her saying she wants to go to a construction site because she feels like she'll be safe there because there's going to be women construction workers. And then she gets catcalled by the men construction workers. And it really just shows like the contrast between the two and calls out a lot of just things that we consider to be normal, especially if you live in the United States. It's just like normal. Whereas in Barbie's head, it's not normal because in Barbie Land, the Barbies think that they solved inequality in the real world. They think that women are equal and they also are quote unquote girl bosses and they run the US and they're empowered, or not the US, the real world, and they're empowered and women are seen as this powerful force. I don't even know how else to say it. Like, this is obviously a summary. I'm not going to be great with words. I'm not the best with words, so whatever. I'm getting to the point. It's taking me forever to get to my actual opinion on this. Basically, long story short, it really just calls out how hard it is to be a woman. And it really, really, really calls out the patriarchy. It calls out the flaws within the patriarchy and how men operate and how their brains work. I think that that was the really interesting thing for me, was the psychology behind it. How they really made me feel like these were situations I had personally been in with, oh, if, like, we act this way, the Kens are gonna act this way. And I'm like, wait, we do that. Like, women strategize, like, hey, if we act this way, the men are gonna act this way. Which, Mastermind by Taylor Swift, she says, like, I'm a mastermind, like, all the dominoes fell into place, and, like, that's, we're together because I strategize it, literally that, but for the whole world. Also, Taylor Swift, I'm gonna call out some things because Taylor is a huge feminist in the respect that she calls out a lot of the stuff that they also called out in the movie, so there's a lot of parallels though there. But in Mad Woman by Taylor Swift, she says, there's nothing like a mad woman, what a shame she went mad. And then another lyric is, you poke that bear till the claws come out, and then you have something to wrap your noose around. It's something along those lines. I'm sorry, I'm tired. But basically what she's saying is, if women get upset with the way that you treat them and say anything about it, then they're viewed as crazy. And that is exactly what the Barbie movie talked about. It talked about how you have to accept the way that you are mistreated, that women are mistreated, the way that we are unequal to men. And if we call it out, then we are seen as crazy. We are seen as complaining. We are seen as wrong. We are seen as mad women in both senses of the word. So it was really validating as someone who is a young woman in the corporate setting that is trying to climb a corporate ladder as well as start her own business and be seen as a businesswoman and be taken seriously. I have been told some of the most atrocious things, and not only that, I think that just being someone who thinks that it's okay to be pretty and it's okay to be smart at the same time, you can't, Braxton, you don't have to choose between being smart or being pretty, was another thing that Barbie kind of talked about. You can be whatever you want. I think that's something that also needs to be discussed, but it was just really, really validating. And I think, or at least I hope, because for me, it didn't really open my eyes because I knew all of these things. I knew that we're, like, at an imbalance in terms of power and being respected, but I was shocked that I wasn't the only one who thought that. Like, me and my friends had these exact conversations at the coffee shop together, but the fact that it was on the big screen for all of the world to see, that is what shocked me, because I was like, wow, I am not the only one who thinks these things. But that, yeah, that really shocked me. However, I do want to talk about a specific moment, and I think everyone is already going to know what I'm talking about. So the mom in the movie, there's a human mom and daughter. The mom had a monologue that was just incredible. I am going to read it to you because I mean, women were applauding. This is when most people cried. It was like this is the part when I was like, okay, yeah, I feel like they get it. So I'm just gonna shut up and read it. Oh, hold on. For context, she's talking to Barbie because Barbie is like very sad, feels like she isn't capable of doing anything, and she's not pretty. So we all have those days. But this is how it starts. It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are very beautiful and very smart, and it breaks my soul that you think you're not good enough. Like, we're always supposed to be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be skinny, but not too much, and you must not say you want to be skinny. You must say you want to be a healthy weight, but also, yes, you have to be skinny. You must have money, but you can't ask for money because that would be rude. You gotta be a boss, but you can't be tough. You must lead, but you cannot crush other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mom, but you don't talk about your kids all the time. You have to be a professional, but always have to take care of everyone else. You are responsible for men's behavior, which is crazy, but if you notice that, you're accused of being a whine. You're expected to keep yourself pretty for men, but not so pretty you try them too much or threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of the sorority. You must always stand out and always be grateful, but never forget the system is fixed, so find how to acknowledge it, but remember to be grateful. You must never grow old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never stumble, never fail or show fear, and of course, you must never be sassy. It's very hard, it's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you always doing everything wrong, also everything that happens is your fault. I'm tired of seeing myself in every woman doing the impossible for others to love us. So that was the big monologue. And when I say it's fucking facts, I could not applaud this more. It is so true. Like, you have to be a mother, but you also have to have a career and another income, because if someone else makes another, like, say your significant other makes all the money, then there's a power imbalance, and then you can't ask for money, but you also can't be absent and have your kids go to daycare while you work, and then God forbid you want to start a business, because that's a man's job. And you know how many businesses are owned by women? Not that many. You know the percentage of women who get approved for a small business loan? Not that many. You want to talk about Hispanic women or women that are ethnic in any way? Even lower. Like, these are all things that I have researched, and that's just the things that I consider myself to be an expert in terms of researching it. Like, I'm not an expert in the rates for how many women are doctors. I'm not an expert in the rates for how many women are CEOs or have masters or have doctorates. Like, that's the same as being a doctor. Sorry. Like, I'm not an expert of any of those things. I'm just an expert in my field, which is being an entrepreneur, and I know that the odds are stacked against us. So, also, the world is so fucked up right now that, like I just mentioned, it's literally impossible to be a mom. Like, to be a mom without someone judging you and having something to say and the odds being stacked against you. So, it's a little frustrating. I don't have, like, an answer. I don't have a way to say, like, hey, this is what we do about it. I just hope that this movie makes a difference and people begin to see and understand how impossible it is and how contradictory it is to be a successful woman in today's day and age. So I'm just tired. I think that's it. And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but honestly, who gives a fuck if I'm complaining? That's the whole fucking point. Like, she literally says in the monologue, you can't complain about it or you're seen as someone who complains, and you are seen as someone who's negative. but I think I've earned the right to fucking complain about it, because it's literally impossible to be successful unless you do it against all odds. And I'm tired. I'm so fucking tired of it. So, I mean, I don't really have this great solution that's gonna fix it. I just felt like if I wasn't calling attention to it and saying, hey, this is correct and you are valid to feel the way you feel if you do identify with that as a woman, that I wasn't doing my job as someone on the podcast, and or someone who has a podcast primarily geared towards women and our progress and us reaching our goals and us being successful. One thing I do want to add is the things I've seen about it. Something that made me really, really angry today. Okay, so as we know, I grew up in the Bible Belt. I grew up going to Christian schools, going to church, things like that. And while I am still religious, I am not as religious or in the denomination that I grew up in. So, a lot of the people on my Facebook and on my social media are still in that very, very, very strict, old-fashioned, the wife stays home and tends to the kids and the husband is the provider type mindset, which is fine if that's what you prefer, but you shouldn't be saying that other people have to abide by that and that they're going to hell if they don't, you know? Well, anyway, I saw on someone's Facebook today that they said that the movie was full of woke ideas and that they wouldn't be having any of that. And I genuinely don't feel like this is any quote-unquote wokeness. Literally the only thing that I took away from that, like the big overarching thing I took away from that, is that women and men deserve equal rights and equal opportunities. That is all I took out of that. Like, even at the end, like, so essentially the Kens take over, and then the Barbies take back over, and Ken's really sad. And Barbie literally says, like, no, I'm not trying to take away all of your power. I don't want you to feel inferior. She actually apologizes for how they were treated before the Barbies took over, and, or before the Kens took over, when the Barbies were in charge, and the way that they ignored them and things like that, treated the Kens like how women are typically treated in society. She apologized for that, and she was like, hey, we should all just like do our own thing and be equal. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And while the Barbies were still like in charge, like the men were like at least seen as equal in the sense that they deserved basic respect, you know? It's not like they were going to be president tomorrow, but they deserved basic respect, right? So the way the movie ended is basically that we deserve to be equal, right? Crazy concept, I know. Men and women having equal what? So that's what I got out of that. And this man was sitting here saying that movie was too woke. And obviously I didn't put my time and energy into commenting back and being like, bro, what is wrong with you? So you don't believe in men and women? Like, what? It made me so freaking mad because, like, what? I don't even have, like, as someone who is very, very, very well versed in the Bible, has spent hours studying the Bible, nowhere in there does it say women should be treated poorly. Nowhere. Okay? So I was very upset about that, and I just wanted to like say, if anybody's saying that, don't even waste your energy fighting with them. Just wish them well, send them love, even though it hurts. Even though you may not want to, send them some love, because that's all you can do. Fighting fire with fire is not going to solve the issue, but what is going to hopefully make a difference is if we all stand up and be like, wow, that is correct. We should not be treated that way. So that is me voicing that I wholeheartedly agree that it's impossible to be a woman in today's society and something's gotta give. But you know me, despite the objectives, I'm still gonna keep pushing to get what I want and be successful, because that's what my mindset is, and it's always gonna be. Regardless of if I am the minority or the majority, I'm still gonna give it my all So, well, that's pretty much it. If you would like to discuss this in a civil manner, we're not going to be fighting, we're not going to be shouting, we're not going to be saying anything that is rude or not civil, okay? But if you would like to talk about this more, obviously you can follow me on Instagram at thatgirlthepod and DM me there. If you're on YouTube or anything where you can comment, definitely comment down below. I'd love to chat about it more, but lots to discuss. I want to know your thoughts on the movie. I want to know your thoughts on the parallels to Taylor Swift's lyrics. I think that that's something that we should definitely dive into more, and if you're a Swiftie and want to talk about it, I would love to. I want to know your thoughts on how it's been perceived by the media, how you feel, especially if you don't live in the United States, because obviously my experience is limited to the US. How did you feel about this movie and how it relates to how women are treated in your country? I would love to hear about that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, if you would like to follow on whatever platform you're on right now, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, whatever you are on, I would love to have you join us. We are a community of women who are working to become the best version of ourselves. Also, don't forget to leave a rating and review. It takes about 0.2 seconds and literally boost my podcast so much. It is how the algorithm knows that I'm doing something right, and it is able to recommend me to other people. Also, don't forget to follow on TikTok and Instagram. All of my links are down below. I love you so much. I upload every single Sunday and Wednesday. If you're watching on a Wednesday night, I hope you have a great night. If you're watching on any other day, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I will see you in my next podcast episode. And I love you so much. Bye, guys.